Awesome, you guys got the 4 major stimuli down. You know the importance of sex transmutation and increasing your vibrations. Now we're going to go over to the computer. We're going to look at the way the brain's stimulated with one or more of the 10 stimuli. How you can use that to fundamentally switch your organic, ordinary thought, to stretch your horizons, expand your distance, scope, quality, and massive impact on the thoughts that are available to you, the lowest plane. Moving yourself up and up and up. So let's draw this, right? So if we're looking at your mind, okay, and most of your thoughts are in these low vibration states right here, you want to get yourself to higher vibration states. And you want to move your floor too, so that what happens is maybe your daily range starts off right around here, and this is, you know, the range you're in, and then you move up just a little bit, and your daily range comes to here, and you move up, you can keep moving up. All of a sudden, the stuff that's down here that used to bother you, it just isn't a problem anymore. And the stuff that's up here that you never knew existed, all of a sudden is creating massive success for you because you increased the range of motion of your subconscious mind and got rid of the crap that was bothering you earlier. Super important stuff. It all comes from raising your vibrations. Super cool stuff. So when you're lifted to this higher level of thought, all of a sudden, you can form your thoughts in any situation, individual occupancy, doesn't matter, relative to other people in their ascended phase. So this would be like basically a mental ascension. Bam! So huge. You're at this new place, and I totally spelled that right. That's awesome. So make sure you're looking over the horizons and increasing your limits to a higher level, right? Increase your output, increase everything you have to have the biggest level of success, because it's always this growth, right? You're going on this growth and growth and growth to get to your long-term goal. And you have to grow as a person to grow in the business world. You have to grow your health to grow your wealth. You have to grow your relationships to facilitate everything, and especially to maximize your sexual transmutation. Super powerful stuff. Like a rising airplane. Super cool, super cool. So while you're working on this creative, facilitation, whatever you need, it's all about the sixth sense, right? And growing these vibrations, facilitating differences, and becoming a genius out of an ordinary individual. It's important to use alert and repetitive creative faculties every single day. So you surround yourself with things that are going to increase your vibrations. You surround yourself with a quality environment more than your individual reliability. Because here's the deal. If you have a tendency to just eat a bunch of Oreos and you're like super sugar high all the time, you're just always eating these Oreo cookies over and over, and it's terrible for you. You know it's terrible. But you just have these boxes and boxes and boxes of Oreos and you just can't stop. What do you think the best way is going to be to stop eating Oreos? You just don't buy them, right? If you don't have physical access to them, then you're not going to be able to eat them. Same thing happens if you want to cut sugar out of your diet. What do? You go to the grocery store, you walk out of the grocery store without sugar, no sugar in your cart. All of a sudden, it's going to be a lot harder for you to eat sugar if you just don't own any to eat, right? So looking at changing your environment, you can do the same thing mentally. If you wake up every day to an alarm, but instead of a bam, bam, bam alarm, you change your alarm to your favorite song in the whole world, favorite energy song, and you let that song play out, for your entire alarm or whatever. Just let the whole song play to wake you up. Which one do you think is going to wake you up in a more excited state? Which one do you think will bring you into a peak state? Peak state. It's going to be the song, right? You're going to get rid of the stuff that you hate, stuff that's bad, stuff that's lowering your energy level. You're going to raise it up to that peak state by using music to fuel you at the very earliest moment possible in your day. I swear, guys, you wake up to some rock song, some electro song, whatever music you like, it's the equivalent of like 10 cups of coffee. It'll pump you up so much, you'll never need coffee again. I really don't like coffee. Caffeine, I don't know, it's like addictive drug stuff. It's just not very healthy. I don't know. That's what I've seen most of the people say. And so I avoid it because I don't want to be stuck on something like that. And music is what really helps me. If I ever need, like try this, right? Especially if you do drink coffee. If you ever think you need a coffee, you need to like boost up your energy. Instead of going and drinking this thing it's probably not that good for you. Instead, play some music and pump it up. And see how that affects your state. See how that affects your emotions. See how that brings you to your peak potential to realize your sixth sense. Very powerful concept. Super cool stuff. It's what makes the difference between the genius and the ordinary. I mean, before I recorded this video, before we started recording, played a song, right? It was massive, massive hype up song. I was dancing to it full on. And then I came right over here to do this. Because it pumps up the energy, gets you in a keen state. It allows your imagination to flow, and you can create more reliable hunches, you can create more reliable ideas, and you can use those to expand your current practice, expand what you do, and bring it to a whole new level of success, all by focusing on your growth. And if possible, I don't know, music for me is huge, like just listening to it while I write. I mean, that was what pushed me through to finish 9 to noon, was like this music, this pump it up, gave me the energy, gave me the endurance, gave me the confidence to make it happen. Super powerful concept, and I really hope you guys appreciate that, because this is really cool. So, if you look at some of these examples in history, some of the best known financiers, some of the most industrial, successful men, there's this one guy, and every time I had to make a decision, he would go over just like desk, right? And he would just sit there in his chair. He would close his eyes. And why would he close his eyes? He would close his eyes. He would sit there for a couple minutes, and he would say, whatever he needed to make a decision on was on his desk. And he would close his eyes and draw upon you guessed it, his superior intelligence. He would use his internal subconscious to make decisions for him. He would just give him a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. He would just sit there and close his eyes. And then as soon as he opened his eyes, he made the decision like that. He made it happen immediately, because that's the kind of insane connection you have with yourself when you connect to that subconscious and you use it as fuel to make decisions quickly, make the smart decisions, and get that hunch response that you need from that deep part of your infinite intelligence. Same thing applies to inventing, right? This guy, his name was Dr. Elmer Gates. He had over 200 patents, right? 200 patents, a lot of stuff. They were all pretty cool stuff. He did some nice patents through the process of cultivating and using the creative faculty, the infinite intelligence to create tremendous creative inspiration. Super powerful concept. What he did was basically what this guy over here did in the banking industry. He would go into his room, and he made this room, right? In this room, I don't know what color his room was, but I do know that it was completely cut off from the rest of the world. It was like soundproofed, it was light-proofed, and the only thing in this room was a button. And that button turned on like the one light bulb in the room. And that was it, right? And he would just sit on his little chair, sit at a desk, and he would just sit there with the lights out, with the sound out. He would just think. He would just listen to his mind and attain the status of genius by allowing his subconscious to grow. It was this amazing, amazing thing. And all he would do is he would have this room set up, and there was a piece of paper on a desk in front of him, and he would just write on this piece of paper, just like we talk about on reflection day, right? That idea of cutting off all external stimuli, specifically light too, like cut off light on reflection day. Try to close your doors, windows, whatever you can do. Because light, if you look at it, right, when scientists, they were figuring out the duality of light and how it acts as a particle and as a wave, there was this experiment they did, right? It was called the slit test. And they would send light through a slit, and then they would look at how the photons and the electrons scattered on the other side of it. And what they found was that light acted, I believe I got this right, as a wave. It acted as a wave when it just went through the slit all on its own. But when they put a camera next to it, the camera, it sent out electrons. Those electrons hit this ray of light, and when they were recording what was happening, it would act as a particle. Light would act as particles. So it showed that light has two states that it can act in. But more importantly, it shows that just a simple observation of an event can fundamentally shift the results that you have from it. And you want to have the most basic level of connection with your body, your subconscious, and the infinite intelligence. And the best way to do that, like I talk about in Reflection Day, is to remove all stimuli, including light. Because that was the only difference between these two experiments, is the idea that a camera was recording it, and that the wave of light was changing just because of that external beam of electrons coming in. So please, please, please focus on this and understand the massive significance of a soundproof and a light-proof room. Even if it's not perfect, like try to get close to that, because it's going to remove external stimuli. And I know you guys are focusing on increasing your vibrations, but once you filled up your tank, right, once you filled up your fuel, like we talked about in the last module, once it's full, you can get rid of these stimuli for a short period of time, and then focus on just withdrawing as much as you can get out of here, right? That's the point of a reflection day, is to turn this value into plans, and then over the next couple of months, turn those plans into money. That's the power. That's the basis. And that's exactly what Dr. Elmer Gates did. So with Gates, he would go into his room, he would plan, he would think, and he would just focus on his mind. And when he desired to draw something, he would draw upon the forces available through his creative imagination, set himself aside, shut himself off from the world, and concentrate upon the known factors of the invention he was working on. Remaining in that position, sitting in that room, focusing on the invention, until ideas began to flash into his mind in a connection with the unknown factors of the invention. So he would take what he knew, if he knew like 3/4 of the pie, and he would just concentrate on that. And through the infinite intelligence, through this subconscious, through his high level of mental vibrations, primarily caused through sex transmutation, he would discover the secret that would allow him to finish his project and create this new invention. One time, ideas came so fast that he was forced to write for 3 hours. And when the thoughts stopped flowing and he examined his notes, he found they contained a minute description of principles that had no parallel to known scientific data. It had no connection to the scientific world. It came exclusively from his infinite intelligence. And this insight answered the problem he presented. And it was answered intelligently through these notes. And this is how the guy made 200 plus patents. Because he started with like half-baked ideas, and then those are the ones that come from the infinite intelligence. Then he elaborated on them. He developed them, created plans around them, and he kept expanding them. Evidence of this is shown to the U.S. Patent Office, right? I mean, this guy literally earned his idea. He's living, right? He would sit for ideas. You go to companies, he'd pay him massive amounts of money. All he would do, he would sit there and focus on his mind, his experiences. Some of the largest companies, they pay him substantial fees for the hour, by the hour. All he did was sit for ideas because he used his reasoning faculty, and he just completely shut it off. Here's the deal. The reasoning in your mind is often faulty. Because it is guided, here's the kicker, it's guided by our accumulated experiences. Bam, bam. But not all knowledge that we accumulate through experience is accurate. Right? You have bad experiences, you have false beliefs, you have things that hold you down. Ideas received through the creative faculty, creative ideas, are much more reliable. Because they come from sources more reliable than any available to the reasoning faculty of the mind. Because they come reliable from the infinite intelligence. Bam. So big, so important. This stuff down here, past experiences, personally have seen this. When I was making terrible trades based off misinformation all over the place about personal finance and investing. Accumulated experiences were straight false. And only through deep reflection and listening to the infinite intelligence did I find the best investing strategies. So powerful. So powerful. It all comes from this one concept. So use it. Absolutely crush it. The major difference between the genius and the ordinary inventor, the ordinary man, is one thing. One thing alone. The genius works through creative imagination, while the ordinary guy, imagination. What does he do? Well, he doesn't even know about it. Doesn't even know. So just by knowing, you're already ahead of so many people. The best inventor, especially in science, like Dr. Gates, Mr. Edison, right, make use of both synthetic and creative faculties of imagination, like we talked about earlier. But it all comes from leveraging the power of the infinite intelligence to find that solution. We're going to look at Edison in just a moment. But remember that inventors, geniuses, begin an investigation by organizing and combining the known ideas or principles accumulated through experience through the synthetic faculty, the reasoning faculty. If they find this accumulated knowledge to be insufficient for the completion of the invention, they then draw upon the source of knowledge available to them through their creative faculty. This is where the power comes from, to solve the problems that can't traditionally be solved through normal reasoning. The method by which this is done varies, but it is based, by and large, on these two simple steps. The steps to creative imagination, to creative growth. Number one, you stimulate their mind, stimulate your mind so that they vibrates on a higher than average plane. Stimulate your mind, higher vibrations. This is just like what we talked about earlier with increasing your vibrations through sex transmutation, through manifestation magic, through sound, through positivity. Those are the keys to have massive success. And make sure you check out Manifestation Magic. It's so powerful. Use one or more of the 10 mind stimulants that we covered earlier, or some other stimulant, and focus. You want to get like the 80-20 principle, right? You want to focus on that top 20% of mind stimulants. They're going to lead you to stimulants. They're going to lead you to 80% of the increased vibrations. So just focus on the stuff that works best for you, and you're going to have huge success in that regard, which is awesome. Super cool. All right? Sound good? Then number 2, the second step, final step, is simply to concentrate. Most successful people, they concentrate on the known factors, the finished part of the invention, and they create in their minds a perfect picture of the unknown factors, the unfinished part of the invention. So you concentrate on what you have, and then you hold in your mind a perfect picture of the unknown. This is how you solve a problem, right? This is how you figure it out. It's through this process where you understand exactly what has to happen, and then you use it to crush it. You hold this picture in your mind until it has been taken over by the subconscious mind. Then relax by clearing your mind of all thought and wait for the answer to pop up. This is literally the definition of challenge-based meditation. And this is why when we talked about this earlier, challenge-based meditation, you know, go to bed with a question for your mind to solve. Go to bed with something for your subconscious to work on, because your subconscious is always working. It's always taking in information. It's always going hard. It's always making stuff happen. It all comes from this function, and you just want to focus almost exclusively on your ability to make it freaking happen by using subconscious mind. So make sure you have a challenge-based question. You have something to ask yourself that your mind will solve, because if you just let it sit there, just give it time, just let it work itself out, you will have that result come into your life. Massive, massive impact, massive success. It all stems from your ability to concentrate and make it freaking happen. All right? Sound good? Sweet. So, with that said, let's go on. Sometimes results are both definite and immediate. Other times, they're negative, depending on the state of the sixth sense or the creative faculty. Remember, it's the amount of vibrations you can charge up in your subconscious that's going to determine how successful you are when you ask yourself a question and the answers that you expect to receive from the infinite intelligence to solve your problem. Edison tried more than 10,000 different ideas using his synthetic faculty, his imagination, before he finally tuned in the creative imagination and got the answer that perfected the incandescent light bulb. His experience was similar when he produced the talking machine. Now remember that. Understand that. He tried all these ways, and everyone knows, right? Like, it's 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb. But what actually pushed him over the edge to create this light bulb the best way possible wasn't just like pure luck, but it was actually this subconscious mind, this infinite intelligence, this creative imagination. What he did was he sat back and he reflected and he asked himself a question. What will lead me to success? What will make this thing work? And his mind answered. He thought, and he grew rich. He had the success from the reflection and the meditation on the question that led him to find the answer by leveraging the power that he didn't even know he had in his subconscious mind. So powerful. There's plenty of reliable evidence the faculty of creative imagination exists. This evidence is shown through the analysis of people who have become leaders in their respective callings without having extensive educations. Look at Lincoln, okay? Same thing happened. Lincoln was a leader who achieved greatness with his creative imagination. Now you might think, well, how did that happen? How do you know that? Well, here's the deal. Okay. We're going to look at this principle of age in just a moment, but we're going to go over this first. Lincoln discovered and began to use this faculty as a result of the stimulation of love when he met and experienced, we met Anne Rutledge, right? Like his wife. So, bam. This love, history, filled with examples where love, sex transmutation increases vibrations, increases stimulation. And because of that, you're increasing the power of the subconscious mind. You're increasing your grasp and your reach to the infinite intelligence, and therefore creating tremendous wealth banks in your mind to draw from and use that as a way to solve your problems. That's exactly what made Lincoln successful. That's what allowed him to bring up and have massive political success, change the world as we know it. It's because of his wife. It's because of his love that they had, sex transmutation, the energy that increased his state, brought him to peak productivity, brought him to maximum success. It all stemmed from his ability to stimulate his mind, increase those vibrations. That's how they manifested the magic responses he wanted in his life. So powerful, so huge. All comes from this one concept. Look at one more example here. Same thing happened with Napoleon Bonaparte. With Napoleon, he had this massive success in his life because of his creative faculties, because of his stimulation of his mind through his sex desire. He was inspired by his first wife, Josephine, right? Josephine was irresistible and invincible, and he had massive success in his life because of the increased vibrations that came through his marriage, his first marriage, right? And to his better judgment, he decided, because of his reasoning and his internal thoughts, based on logic, that he should push Josephine aside, and that's what he did, right? And he began to decline. And as soon as Josephine was out of his life, his defeat at St. Helen were very, very close to follow. So the massive failures in his life came after he pushed away his wife. It's really bad situation. It sucks because a lot of people, they have massive success in life because of sex transmutation. And as their life gets up and up and up and up, at a certain point, they get to a point here where it's like, this is a lot of success. And at the beginning, they had less success, but they had this wife, right? And this wife, through sex transmutation, allowed them to have massive success, right? And these men, they climbed to great heights, great achievement, under the stimulation and influence of the wives, only to drop to destruction after money and power went into their hands, because they put aside their old wife and they try to go to a new one. And that new wife doesn't have the same influence on their sexual drive, on their internal vibrations. Napoleon figured out pretty quickly, sex influence has to be from the right source, and it's more powerful than any substitute of expediency which can be found for any reason. So you gotta make sure, find the stuff that works, stick with it. And you see this guy, you can't be cocky asshole, because it'll mess your life up if you mess up your energy levels. It's super important. Sex energy is the creative energy of all geniuses. There never has been and never will be a greater leader, builder, or artist lacking in this driving force of sex. No one will misunderstand this statement to mean that all who are highly sexed are geniuses, right? You've got to have that overarching, the secret formula, right? You can't just have a bunch of sex and expect to have massive success in your life, right? It comes down to the secret formula. Because here's the deal, right? You can attain status of a genius, right? And that comes from the secret formula. leads to genius, and then also the sex transmutation, right? Transmutation of sexual energy. Bam, leads to genius. They combine, right? They have to combine. So you have to have your mind stimulated. You got to be prepared to draw upon the forces from sex transmutation through the creative facilities of imagination. You also have to make sure that you step up these vibrations. So it's not just sex energy, but the possession of this energy is sufficient to produce genius, because you can transmute it from a desire for physical intimacy into some other form of desire from your secret formula, what you desire. Right? So you go from sex energy, desire, to desire for your secret formula, and take action. That goes to action, and action goes to genius, right? It's a repeating cycle. Before you go, so you just got to make sure you have both of these aspects. It's not one or the other. It's not just secret formula. It's not just sex energy or sex transmutation. It's both. When you combine them, you're going to have a ridiculous level of success and influence in your life, far more than any of them on their own, and especially far more than just sex on its own. You definitely see your formula is the baseline, and then basically you're like injecting steroids into yourself, but using sex energy. So powerful. Because just sex energy itself will not take you there. So it's cool, right? That's the point of it. Is to use it to your advantage, use it to increase your energy, increase your status, and have moderation. Make sure you know exactly what you're doing, so you can channel it to the right outlet. Now that you understand that, it's definitely not the easiest thing to understand. What we're going to look at now is why people, the Hill says people barely succeed before they're 40, and it all comes down to this idea of the mastery of sex transmutation. So let's jump into that. And we're going to do that one in a little bit of a hotter color. We'll do like an orange. So he looked at over 25,000 people, okay? This man is insane. He's a genius. I love this guy. Who succeeded, 25,000 successful people. And he realized that barely any of them did so before the age of 40. Most of them were over 40 years old when they started to have success. And more often than not, they didn't really hit their real pace until they were 50. Now, if you're young, this might sound discouraging. If you're old, this might sound really amazing. I'm here to tell you that this doesn't freaking matter if you can master sex transmutation. So don't let age be a limiter. Age is just a number, doesn't freaking matter, okay? Sound good? This fact is so astounding that it prompted Hill to study this single concept more carefully and investigate for over 12 years to figure out exactly what's going on here. And you're going to get all of that right now. So here's the deal. His study found that the major reason the majority of people who are successful do not begin to develop success or expand their lives before 40 or 50 is because of their tendency to dissipate their energies, right? They're losing their energy. They're shooting out their energies into the world and just wasting it, not applying it to their overarching long-term goals, not applying it to the secret formula through, take a guess here, it's not that complicated, overindulgence in sex. Now, Hill phrases it a little bit differently. He says overindulgence in overindulgence in the physical expression of the emotion of sex. But I think you guys freaking got this on lock. The problem is that most people never learn that the urge of sex has other possibilities which far transcend the importance of sex. And the majority of people do not make this discovery until they have wasted many, many years with sex energy was at its height prior to the age of 45 or 50. Once they master this single concept, the concept that you can take the energy from sex through sex transmutation and use that energy to go towards your long-term goal. As soon as you master that and you understand that concept, the lives of these people reflect continuing success and massive, noteworthy achievements. People well past 40 have a continued dissipation of energy, could be more profitably channeled if they don't master this single concept of sex transmutation. The idea you take the energy, you apply it to your goal, make it happen. Excuse me. The desire for sexual expression is by far the strongest and most impelling of all human emotions. And this is the reason that the desire can be harnessed and transmuted into action other than the physical expression of sex. And it can raise the status of your mind, the vibrations in your head, to that of a genius. You look at Stephen Hawking, this man in a wheelchair, married twice in his life. Why was he married twice? You think it was for the physical representation? It probably wasn't. What was it for? It was for that mental elevation. It was for that mental growth. It was for the power of sex transmutation. And that allowed him to be one of the most notable astrophysicists in the world. It was all because he channeled this energy into a productive and desirable outlook. So please, please, please understand that Stephen Hawking didn't start to have massive success till later in his life, which is a shame. And one of the biggest reasons behind that is because a lot of people don't master sex transmutation while they're young. So if you can master this while you're young, all of a sudden, you can have ridiculous success when you're young, and then compound that over time with quality investments. For example, compounding long-term investments in the American economy through equity asset income. This is everything I teach in 9 to Noon. It's all based on this internal ability to master your life. For that very reason, harness and transmute energy. They will lead to a radical shift in everything that you do, lifting you to brand new heights. So powerful, so powerful. Hope you guys understand this. Hope you guys take this to the next level and you apply it immediately. Looking for the way to have that positive dispersion of sexual energy and channel it into your secret formula. This is so powerful. This concept on its own will fundamentally change everything you do as soon as you actually, create your secret formula goal. It's so powerful. And I just hope you guys get a ton of value from this. We're going to move on now to the use of alcohol, drugs, other aspects that a lot of people use to increase their energy and vibrations. And then we're going to finalize this module on the physical manifestation and expression of this sexual energy, of this sex transmutation in day-to-day life, and how you can measure and apply it to have higher levels of growth, okay? Does that sound awesome? Great. So, with that said, I promised you guys we would look at this, so we're going to look at alcohol slash, drugs. We had this on our list. It was, I think, number 10, and remember, 2 of those were bad. This would be definitely one of the bad ones. So history is not lacking in examples of people who attain the status of genius as a result of artificial mind stimulants. Artificial mind stimulants. Did you hear that? Artificial mind stimulants. Artificial mind stimulants, that would be basically alcohol and narcotics. Okay, now you're asking, well, what's artificial? What would real be? Real would be sex transmutation. This is where you want to be. This is where you don't want to be. And I'm going to show you why in about 10 seconds flat. So Edgar Allan Poe, right? Massive, massive poet. He wrote this book, or poems, or something. Poe. The Raven, while he was under the influence of alcohol. He wrote this entire masterful literary work while drunk. Dreaming dreams that the moral never dared to dream before, he says. Why? Why did this happen? It happened because he increased his vibrations. He increased his state. And he elevated his mind to a whole new level, like we were talking about in the last module, about increasing the frequencies and the energies to fundamentally shift every single aspect of your thought to create massive action and success in your plans to achieve your overarching long-term goal. Difference is Edgar Allan Poe did so in a way that is not consistent. It's not replicatable. It's not sustainable through alcohol, narcotics. Same thing happened with James Whitcomb Riley. With Riley, he did his best writing while he was drunk. Wrote while drunk. He had masterful art that came from it. Because he said that he saw the ordered intermingling of the real and the dream, the mill of the river, and the mist of the stream. Maybe this is why English class never made sense to me. I don't know. Poetry, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe we shouldn't read things written by drunk people. I don't know. Robert Burns, he's another author. He wrote his best while intoxicated for Alt Lane. Sign, my dear. Take a cup of kindness for him, right? He would just use alcohol as a way to increase his vibrations, increase his state. All three of these guys, they were using these drugs, this alcohol, as a fuel to increase their state, increase their vibrations. Was it sustainable? Let it be remembered that many such people have destroyed themselves in the end. Nature does not reward. It's got its own poisons. It knows to safely stimulate the minds. They vibrate on a plane that enables them to tune into the fine and rare thoughts of the great unknown. But no satisfactory substitute can ever be found for sex transmutation. So it's a temporary increase, a temporary way to access the infinite intelligence, much stronger way. A temporary way to fill up that mental pool of vibrations. But the best way to do that, remember we were looking at that chart earlier, we drew out, the power of filling up your mind with high vibrations. And the biggest thing right beneath manifestation through sound was sex transmutation. So these guys are taking sex transmutation, pulling it out of the equation, using alcohol and drugs. And this is the stuff that ruins marriages, stuff that ruins relationships, and it expunges that power of sex transmutation, replaces it with a temporary stimulant that is not sustainable. Can't freaking happen. Okay, makes sense? Sound awesome? Now we're going to move on to spiritual urges and then what we write on our list. So psychologists recognize that there's a very close relationship between sex desires and spiritual urges. It's pretty cool. It accounts for the behavior of people who participate in orgies known as religious revivals, common among the primitive types, says Hill. Oh man. So remember, you're comparing, right? Religious groups, orgies. It's all about the changes of the energies, the frequencies occurring inside the mind, inside the subconscious. You can increase that energy state, you can increase that frequency by any possible way, any extent, reliably. You're going to increase success, you're going to increase creativity, you're going to increase every single major factor behind getting you to your overarching long-term goal. Okay? Sound good? Sounds really good. The world is ruled, and the destiny of civilization. Everything comes down to emotions. I'm going to write this really big. Emotions, all right? All actions are based on emotions and justified by, you guessed it, logic. People are influenced in their actions, not by reason, but by feelings. This is why if you're trying to sell something, you sell the emotion, you sell the result, you sell the happiness that you'll get when you go to the carnival fair. Stuff like that. You're selling the feelings. Creative faculty of the mind is set into action entirely by emotions. Zip. Nobody cares what grade of titanium is used in the iPhone. It's all about the emotions that sell it. Nobody cares, like, about this is a coaster. I don't care what it's made of, where it's made. I care about the emotional response that's going to get me to buy this immediately in whatever position I'm in. Maybe I'm in a store. Maybe there's an amazing aroma around me, and there are these black leather coasters, and there's a salesperson talking to me about how amazing these are going to make me feel as I rub my finger through, and they connect it to my family, they connect it to my deep desires, they connect it to everything I could want in a home environment is linked directly to this coaster, and this coaster is the only way to have massive levels of happiness and joyous family relationships in my life. You connect that to something, you can sell that thing 10 times easier than saying it is a 2x2 high quality rubber based coaster. Such a difference. Such a difference in persuasion, such a difference in selling. It's all based on emotions. And that's why the power of these emotions, especially sex transmutation, makes such a massive impact on your mind, because you just have a little bit of logic and a lot of emotion. Sound good? Makes sense? Not by cold, not a lot of cold reason. Most powerful of all human emotions. Most powerful of all human emotions is sex. The emotions of sex. Now, if emotions are the most powerful thing in your mind, and sex is the most powerful emotion, by extension, sex is the most powerful thing in your mind. Does that make sense? That's the power of sex transmutation. That's the power of mind stimulants. It's this whole massive part. Everything that comes out of the infinite intelligence, when you can combine the driving power of sex as a mind stimulant to influence and increase permanently the vibrations of thought that you have. Looked at this earlier, so the 10 major stimulants described as most commonly resorted to stimulants, and it all comes down to this ability to focus and communicate with the infinite intelligence as a storehouse of subconscious minds because of your own dedication to sex transmutation. So powerful. Teacher who has trained and directed the efforts of more than 30,000 salespeople made an astounding discovery. This manager, teacher, there was this huge company. Everyone's selling stuff, and the whole job is basically like a grind floor every single day. And you just have a bunch of people on the phone, calling people in the boiler room, and selling the crap out of their product, okay? What did this guy find? This lady found, I don't know. They found that of the 30,000 salespeople, the most successful sales reps were the ones that were the most highly sexed. Most successful. Massive insight. Massive discovery. The explanation is that the factor of personality, known as personal magnetism, is nothing more nor less. It is completely equal to sex energy. Bam! Huge. Highly sexed people will have an increased supply of personal magnetism. Through cultivation and understanding, this vital force can be drawn upon and used to great advantage in the relationships between people. This energy is communicated to others through these top 5 forms of media. And when employing salespeople, the more capable sales manager looks for personal magnetism as a first requirement for the job. This person focused exclusively on sex transmutation when hiring because they knew that these sexually transmuted emotions, right, would directly result in increased sales. Then increased sales because of personal magnetism, because of more enthusiasm, because of more inspiration. It didn't matter what these guys were selling. Everything was based on their ability to have personal magnetism and make that connection with the clients. So how'd they do that? Well, top 5 ways they did it through their body's actions. Number 1, the handshake. The touch of the hand indicates instantly the presence of magnetism or the lack of it. You've got to be super solid. Make it freaking the best. Solid handshake, solid sexual transmutation, solid personal magnetism. Number 2, tone of voice. Magnetism or sex energy is the factor with which the voice may be colored or made musical and charming. It's all based on the perception of sound. Remember, sound is a medium of energy. It's influenced significantly by sex transmutation. And it is seen and physically manifested. You know, this energy comes out through the tone of voice. Make sense? Sound great? All right. Number 3, posture and how you carry yourself. Carriage of body. This is huge, 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 huge. Highly sexed people move briskly and with grace and ease. Quality posture, moving briskly. If you are so excited and so pumped up that you have no choice but to literally run to meetings, what do you think that's going to show? It's going to show that you're packed. It's going to show that you're slammed. It's going to show that you are of demand in the marketplace. It's going to show you have ridiculous amounts of sex energy, an insane level of personal magnetism. I made a podcast episode on this a while back on the Stock Market Secrets podcast. And it was all about running to the place you need to be at. Save time. Focus on your peak productive abilities once you get there earlier than everybody else. And show up with the energy to inspire and fundamentally shift the minds of those around you to bring them up to that peak level of energy, that higher energy state that you're at. You're going to be a massive influencer in any environment that you're in if you can master this single concept to increase your energy. It'll change your life. It's so powerful. Okay? Sound good? Sound amazing? Great. Perfect. Number 4. Vibrations of thought. Guys, this is the basis of it all. Vibrations of thought. It's huge. So huge. Highly sexed people mix the emotions of sex with their thoughts, with your thoughts. Remember, thoughts are the basis of every single thing that comes out of you. Every action you take, every result you create is all based in the thoughts. Or highly sexed people, they can mix the emotion of sex with their thoughts, or may do so at will. They do it or they do it at will. And in that way may influence those around them. Influence those around them. Influence comes from high energy thoughts. And high energy thoughts come from increased vibrations. And the fundamental basis of increased vibrations is sex transmutation. That's the power. That's the growth. That is your founding principle to increase your energy. And obviously there's other ways to do it, through positivity, through sound, through music, through manifestation, magic, that audio content that's very powerful. But the basis really is sexual transmutation. And that's all adding to it and making it even more insane. So, number 5. Last one here, we have body adornment. Now this is actually like one that I really clicked with, and I like was surprised to see it, but yeah, body adornment. People who are highly sexed are usually very careful about their personal appearance. They usually select clothing of a style becoming to their personality, physique, complexion, etc. This is huge. I mean, you will dress better. Dress to impress. Right? When you're highly sexed and you're out there going hard. You want to match personality. You want to match physique. You want to match every part. Personality. Complexion. You want to match every part of your sex body. And that's going to increase the vibrations, increase the growth, increase you. Because you know exactly who you are, where you want to be, where you want to go. You have that overarching long-term goal. And you're transmuting your sexual energy towards that, towards the plan, towards the growth. It all stems from your ability to have those vibrations in your life. Same thing applies to public speakers, orators, preachers, lawyers, salespeople. Any of these positions where you're in front of people and you're making an impact. If you're lacking sexual energy, you're going to be a flop. You're not going to be able to influence others as far as they're concerned. Coupled with the fact that most people can be influenced only through an appeal to their emotions, you'll understand that sexual energy is the most important part of your ability. As a salesperson, as an entrepreneur, as an influencer, as anybody trying to convince others of your ideas. Anybody trying to negotiate in any aspect of their life whatsoever to get exactly what they want from others, from the world, from companies. Anything that you desire is within your reach because of increased vibrations through sex transmutation. Master sales reps, because we're talking about sales reps here, but just apply it to whatever you're doing, attain the status of mastery in selling because they, either consciously or unconsciously, transmute the energy of sex into sales enthusiasm. In this statement can be found a very practical suggestion as the actual meaning of sexual transmutation. So powerful, so powerful. You can use this energy to increase enthusiasm. The only thing you need to do is take your mind off of sex and direct it into a concentrated effort towards your overarching long-term goals and the plan that's going to get you there with as much enthusiasm and appeal that would apply to your sex. Whether you know it or not, you got to make this happen. You have to be so excited about what you're doing every single day. There is no question, no disconnect, no sense of differentiation between the energy you have for the most important spouse you have versus that overarching long-term goal. It's all based on increasing vibrations. Transmute your energy to fulfill the secret formula, and to do so immediately and applicably to increase willpower, increase purpose, summon anything that you need to overcome every obstacle possible. Every single thing that could go wrong is all solved through the power of sex transmutation.